Rule 1. Do not reach. When James is in his rhythmic dance, arms must remain parallel to the torso, remain wide and on balance. And when he heads downhill, the inside arm closest to his body must stay tucked in, leaving no space for him to hook the arm upon contact. The same principle applies to fighting over screens or if you're the switch defender. If you leave space on the inside contact shoulder, if he doesn't like what he sees coming off the screen, he will hook you and draw the foul. Just like I would tell any brother in America, protect yourself and show him your hands. You always hear people say, you need to get out of your comfort zone to be successful or grow. And in many instances, this is true. But in a basketball game for a score, it couldn't be any further from the truth. Scorers develop their moves in order to find and stay in a comfort zone. So what does a defender want to do? Get you out of your comfort zone. This leads me to rule number 2, no space. There is no doubt the most controversial move in today's game is Harden's step back. Why has he developed such a drastic step back? Because he likes a lot of space to remain in his comfort zone. Now obviously, this is way easier said than done, but here are some concepts on sucking up that space. First and foremost, you must understand, ultimately Harden wants the step back more than anything else. You can't be over concerned with him going by you by reacting to every feint and jab step. Speed and quickness is not the issue. There is an abundance of quick and long defenders in the league. It's his timing and strength that makes him so difficult to contain. If you find someone strong enough to stay in front of him, the chances are they're not quick enough. And if they're quick enough, they're not strong enough. I, like most teams, recommend the latter. Going with a quick defender. Now, you don't have to match his strength, you just have to be strong enough to hold your ground and not get knocked off balance. How do you do that? The defender's hips must stay lower than his at all times. And when contact is made, breathe out to better absorb the blow, like a martial artist uses his chi. In order to do that, you must time it well. And this leads me to probably his greatest weapon, his timing. His algorithm is very unpredictable, but one thing you can count on is a series of 3 or more moves. Very rarely does he go on the catch or after his initial change of direction. Again, much easier said than done, but you must remain disciplined. Close out, but close out late. An important aspect for the defender is to understand, do not try to block the step back shot. Take short shuffles and close out into his space and make him uncomfortable. If you lunge and try to block the shot, you could be fooled over and over again. Rule 3, force right. Now this seems obvious. James can and will go right, but it's the lesser of evils. Now, many defenders don't fully understand this concept. This doesn't mean open up so much to the right that he has a clear path to the basket. He's too used to seeing this strategy. Instead, guard him straight up. Keep your weight loaded on your left leg so you can power lunge and cut off his drive left, forcing him to change directions towards his weak side and allowing you a better opportunity to stay in front of him. You will have to be dynamic and switch the coverage so he doesn't get comfortable. A player of his caliber, no matter how good the scheme is, if you show him the same look over and over again, he will decipher the code and begin to crack it. Rule number 4, trust the help. Harden needs to be flanked. Just like on the battlefield, it must be timed right or the opponent will see it coming. Harden is no different, and he has the advantage of knowing it's coming. When he inevitably gets a step on his defender headed downhill, instead of fighting to recover back in front of Harden, ride his body in an attempt to slow and alter his route, trusting at the last second your flanker will be there. It's important as the flanker you don't show yourself too soon. That makes Harden's read too easy, and it will result in a Capella dunk or a corner 3 ball. If the on-ball defender can buy an extra second by staying connected, James will commit to trying to finish himself, and the help can fully commit. This is the lesser of evils when he is penetrating. Now, we also know there will be times where the big has to switch on him. This is when Harden really starts to lick his chops. Why? Every big man does what he's been taught to do since day one. Give the guard space and use his length to recover late. Problem is, when you give the greatest space creator in the game today more space to start, you're not recovering. The majority of those possessions will result in a step back three. I'd argue you do the opposite. Crowd him and force him out of plan A. Send him towards the rim, forcing him to use more energy, and again, dealing with the lesser of evils. Remember, more energy is spent outside of the comfort zone. This leads me to my fifth rule, and maybe the most important factor in slowing him down. Attack him on the defensive end. We've all heard of the phrase, give them a dose of their own medicine. The old adage stems from the idea that teams and players don't respond well to their own tactics being deployed on them. What does that mean when you face Harden? ISO basketball and drawing fouls. Harden's defensive liabilities are well documented. He struggles the most dealing with screens, and that is a major part of why Houston has adapted the switch everything defense they use now, allowing for the least amount of screens for him to fight through. But what that should open up is the ability to isolate him on your preferred offensive weapon, a counter tactic used throughout the league today. Make him defend in space against an aggressive offensive threat, willing, or should I say almost looking to get to the line. Again, a dose of his own medicine. This should force Houston's hand. Either live with Harden using more energy than he would like and perhaps getting in foul trouble, or have him fight through the screens, which is not likely. Now, if you have a player capable of putting enough pressure on him, you have gotten to the heart of this tactic. We have seen Harden explode and win amazing battles, but let's face it, we have yet to see him win a war. And if you've paid attention, all of these rules have a common goal. Test Harden's motor and will. Offensively, of course he can finish at the rim, but remember, his default is to step back. Part of the reason for that is because he knows he doesn't have an elite motor. Each player's game adapts to their own physical abilities. I believe the reason we've never seen the level of effort we know he's capable of on the defensive end is, deep down inside, he just knows he doesn't have the gas tank for it. You're not going to shut down the soon-to-be MVP over a playoff series. But history has shown his tank can be emptied and his will can be broken. Ultimately, what this means is, you can't measure each possession as a success or failure on whether he scored or you scored, but rather how hard did he have to work, understanding where his true weakness lies.